Hi everyone. My name is Darakshan. I'm the co-director of Justice for Muslims Collective. I wanted to remake this video because I tried to make it on Facebook Live, but the video quality was really poor, so I wanted to go ahead and make it again. So a couple of reasons I wanted to make this video is because, we are waiting for the decision on the Muslim ban to come down. We were expecting the decision to come out today, on Monday. We thought today was the last day, but the court has added an additional day tomorrow, so there's a possibility the decision could come out tomorrow. There is also a possibility that Wednesday and Thursday could be added. So in terms of the decision day, in particular, that has moved. There's still four more big cases, including the Muslim ban, on key issues around labor. So there's a Janus case. There's also an abortion access case in particular. And so, they're pretty big cases that are pending down the court. So I think it makes sense why the court is taking so long in terms of making a decision. So in terms of just a rapid response thing, if you are in DC, please come out to our action. We're going to be in front of the Supreme Court at 11:45 a.m. Please get there by that time. We really would love to start by noon at the latest, as much as we can. So please do that. Please get there. Please follow No Muslim Ban ever, No Muslim Ban, hashtags to know. We do have attorneys who are monitoring the SCOTUS blog in particular to see when the decision is coming out. We also have folks who will be right in front of the court as well, who are monitoring when decisions are coming down. A couple of things, go check the No Muslim Ban Ever campaign website in particular, because if you're not in DC, there are definitely actions happening all across the country, so please do come out. I think it's really, really critical that we show public outrage, that we show, whatever, that the public cares. So irrespective of the decision, it's important that people show up, because of course, one of the ways that this administration and really systems of oppression are able to flourish is if nobody really pays attention and no one cares. So apathy is one of their best tools in their hand, and for us, solidarity and empathy is one of our biggest defenses towards this kind of form of system of oppression. In addition to that, wanted to of course also share that MoveOn.org will be doing a live stream from Washington DC. So if you're not in DC, we do ask that you share and you tune into, in particular, the live stream from MoveOn.org. It will have live captioning as well. We've requested that, so we will definitely have that, and that way, just share it. Again, getting more traction also online is a really big helpful tool. Number two, before I get into the impact of the ban, I wanted to also share that we are partnering with ACLU, ADC, CWS, and IAB in particular to do a community town hall reflection post SCOTUS decision on Thursday from 6:30 to 8:30. 6:30 to 9 p.m. It's going to be at OpenGov Hub. So if you can show up, please show up. Again, on our page, Justice for Muslims Collective, you'll hear more information. That will be our space to really get a breakdown of the case from attorneys. So if there are any questions you have, if you are someone impacted or you know somebody who's impacted, this is a great space to get connected to some attorneys who can give you some support. And number two, of course, impacted voices as well as community advocates, for us to be able to process this decision and what it means, and really recharge ourselves and continue the struggle and continue the fight as much as we can. And now I wanted to get a little bit into the impact of the ban. I think it's important to remind everybody that the ban is in full effect. It's not something that was put on hold because the court is hearing this case in particular. So it is fully in impact. And when we talk about, it's important to remember that one of the cornerstone promises of the Trump electoral campaign was a ban on Muslims. That's one of the things that he wanted. And unfortunately, I would say that he has been, and his administration through the Muslim ban, have been quite successful in banning many Muslims from this country, as well as banning Muslim refugees, Muslim immigrants. And I think there's some numbers here that I want to share from the Bridge Initiative that they compiled that I think are important for us to look at, right? So one, as a result of these executive orders around the Muslim ban, we've seen 60 to 100,000 visas that have been revoked for Muslims. We've seen a 40% decrease in Muslim refugees being admitted and given status. We've seen a 20% decline in non-immigrant visas for Muslim communities in particular. I mean, this has all happened in the span of a year. One of the things that the Trump administration decided to come back around around with the Muslim ban was they said, well, we'll introduce a visa waiver program in addition to this. And what that would mean is basically you're trying to prove that, additional hurdles and so forth that you have that you're facing. Out of, 8,406 applications, only 2 were actually given any visas into the country. Muslim Advocates released a report that I think is important because it documents some of the bigger impacts, larger impacts of the ban that we all have felt. One, there's definitely a documented increase in harassment and surveillance, as well as just treatment of Muslims who are traveling either domestically or particularly in international travel. There's been an increase. So the ways that CBP officers are treating Muslims or those perceived as Muslims that violence has definitely gone up and increased. Also, these policies have resulted in then Muslims who don't want to migrate to the U.S. or don't want to come and visit the U.S. and don't want to be here, as well as really Muslims who are here who are then really more cautious of traveling abroad and not even traveling abroad because you don't know, you might not be given entry back. And I think that those fears of the particular control of movement is a big one. We look at, what are some of the basic rights that every community should have. Well, the ability of free movement and travel is a huge one. And when you get those restrictions happening, we are talking about, living in a sort of a racist system or a system of control. And so, again, wanted to just note that in particular because I think that's important. I think the last point I just want to make is that, again, irrespective of the decision of the ban, we have to continue fighting. And I think that we're going to have to continue to remembering that, the Muslim ban is part and parcel of a larger system of the war on terror. Even if you look at the justifications being given by the administration, the justification is consistently fighting terrorism, fighting terrorism. Even if you look at the zero tolerance policies at the border that have been passed, if you look at the head of the DHS and her arguments, the arguments being given again were that we're doing this in the name of fighting terrorism. Of course, they, in particular with zero tolerance policies, also added drugs and gangs, but they continue to harp on this terrorism, fighting terrorism in particular, and national security. And so I would say that for our communities, as we are fighting against Islamophobia, to remember that we have to really take a very serious stance against how these national security policies are being used and how they're giving impunity, this level of impunity to the state to really uphold policies that are absolutely draconian, absolutely inhumane, and are deeply rooted in white supremacist, xenophobic, racist sort of foundations of violence that we've seen long that are part of this country. So I just wanted to make that point as well because I think that is sometimes forgotten in our work, is that we're going to have to really take these issues of national security and how this system has been operating to criminalize Muslims in particular very, very seriously. And very, very serious, because if we don't, I think as long as we leave that untouched, the justifications will always go and hark back to national security. So I just wanted to say that. And of course, lastly, again, this is a time when we have to really think about creating solidarities that are reciprocal, that show where communities are showing up for each other consistently. I will say in this moment, if you look at the architects behind many of these policies, they're also behind other policies. So for example, Stephen Miller, he's behind the zero detention policy. He's also was the face of the Muslim ban. And so if their violence and oppression is intersectional towards us, then why is it that we can't actually build deeper solidarities with each other? It will be our strongest defense in this moment that we need. And so wanted to share that. Again, follow Justice for Muslims Collective, follow hashtag No Muslim Ban Ever online. We'll continue this struggle and we'll continue this fight. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Have a good one.